Thank you. Good evening, Senators. My name is Greg Engel. I'm Chief Executive Officer at Organigram Holdings, Inc. Since 2013, Organigram has been a leading licensed producer of medical cannabis based in Moncton, New Brunswick. It's my pleasure and privilege to speak with the committee this evening about Bill C-45 and the questions and issues this legislation raises related to the promotion and packaging of adult use recreational cannabis. Most specifically, Part 1, Division 2, Subdivision A on promotion and Subdivision B on packaging and labeling. Canadians are at once curious and cautious in respect to the legalization of recreational use cannabis. While some reports suggest 68% of Canadians favor legalization and that as many as 40% of Canadian adults will use legalized marijuana, almost 60% also have concerns about children and youth having greater access to the product. I, along with many of my industry colleagues, have long believed that no system of growing and selling cannabis can work without explicit, strict, and enforceable rules. Likewise, any policy decisions must reflect a deep respect for and response to Canadians, their concerns, and their continued well-being. For this reason, Organigram is an active member of the Coalition for Responsible Cannabis Branding, a group made up of 17 of Canada's leading licensed producers who, together with the Canadian Medical Cannabis Council, the Canadian Cannabis Association, and Advertising Standards Canada, have proposed guidelines for the responsible branding and promotion of cannabis, which copies have been provided to you for your review. The measure of success for both public policy makers and the industry will be how well we protect ourselves and our children from any potential harm while encouraging the operation of a free, competitive market that balances commercial and social success. Informed by the Task Force on Cannabis Legalization Regulation, existing laws and regulations, key learnings from other jurisdictions, and the recreational cannabis experience, we know we need a common sense approach to protecting youth and the safety of all Canadians. We must also create an environment that allows companies the opportunity to explain why the products they develop are better and safer than those from illegal sources. And packaging and labeling guidelines are at the heart of this issue. If we're to successfully introduce Canadians to legal cannabis from trusted sources, we must offer cannabis producers and marketers a reasonable degree of flexibility to inform consumers of their choices when it comes to cost, quality, and product attributes. From a policy perspective, this means that the legislative framework provided by Bill C-45 must allow for responsible use of creative design and packaging. I've also handed out, and please see the sample packaging I've given to everyone, which show some examples of the current black market package that is being used today, and the relative examples of the samples of current packaging that would meet the specs under C-45. Right now, well-packaged and branded products exist at illegal dispensaries and through illegal means, both online and in person, across Canada. Starving the illicit market means competing with it. Unfortunately, a proposed regulatory framework released in January 2018 places strict restrictions on the promotion of legal cannabis that are clearly counterintuitive to our collective mandate to eliminate the black market. Brand development and differentiation will only become more important as cannabis consumption moves away from dried flower and toward edibles, oils, and topicals, as we've seen in more mature markets such as Colorado and Oregon. Although safety and education need to be the top priorities, there needs to be more room for companies to brand and package their products responsibly. Licensed producers like Organigram have indicated time and again that they are on side with investing in advanced child-resistant packaging solutions, but the consumer use experience is important to control as a purchase occasion. Providing consumers with a package they are embarrassed to hold will result in the use of other potentially unsafe storage solutions as well as overpopulated landfills due to packaging switching. The cannabis industry in Canada supports and in many cases advocated for controls focused on education and safety. For instance, as represented by the Coalition, we agree that marketing should not be directed to persons under 18 years of age. We agree that all advertising messages should contain responsible use statements, and we agree we should adhere to the provisions of the Canadian Code of Advertising Standards. Keeping cannabis out of the hands of youth must remain an absolute collaborative priority for all those involved in the cannabis industry. Add to that the age-validated approach proposed in various provinces and their retail environment, a requirement for prepackaged, child-resistant, and tamper-evident containers, and the rigorous enforcement of the rules, and we can find ourselves creating an environment that allows for both safety and commercial success. Brands and social responsibility need not be mutually exclusive. Canadians should feel confident that these kinds of reasoned and reasonable guidelines can and do strike the necessary balance between protecting public health, even the environment, while ensuring the legal cannabis industry has the tools it needs to effectively counter the illicit cannabis market in this country. Policy decisions that reject reasonable parameters for packaging and branding thwart the development of an emerging and thriving industry. At this time, Canada is seen as a global leader and has the opportunity to develop a system that includes the public and private sector's shared, non-negotiable commitment to responsible and appropriate communication. As we move toward legalization, we need to have reasonable and reasoned discussion, but we can't be ruled by fear. Let's proceed judiciously, but let's proceed. If we're truly to embrace an adult recreational market in Canada, we must take care to look for opportunities to allow a legal, responsible industry to succeed and not shackle our shared success before we've even begun. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Engel. And